Uh, I think we can start now. People will join. Gaurav? Hello, Gaurav. Gaurav, you're on mute if you're trying to speak. Hi, Gaurav, we can start, right?
Yes.
So, hi, good afternoon, all. Welcome to this 11th session of weekly query sessions organized by Anivesh Legal Consultants. Today, I see Ayush Agrawal, and with me is C. Gaurav Jha, who will be first taking some important case laws that were issued by various courts in the past 1 week, and then followed by the queries of the participants. Gaurav, would you like to start with first case?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Aviskar. So basically, I have covered some Supreme Court case law and one GST 80 order also is there. And then we will proceed further your part. So the first case law that I have taken is Sriba Niman Company versus Commissioner of Appeal. And before discussing the what has happened in the case, I would like to discuss about the facts of the case. So Sriba Niman Company was a partnership firm and they have made supply to the various clients and they have received the payment during the financial year 17 and 18. In that financial year, they have filed some return, but due to non-received or non-receipt of the payment from the client, they have not filed GST at February during the 17 and 18. Then the department has find that they are not paying the tax. So DGG have inspected the place of business of the taxpayer, and they find that the approx 20 crore supply has been made, but no tax has been paid to the department. Then DGGI has seized the books of account and other documents, and the taxpayer at that time agreed to make the payment, and they have made the payment to the department of the tax amount. Now the case has the Depart DGGI has issued notice to the taxpayer as the taxpayer has deposited the amount under dispute. So DGGI and the department administrative authority has issued the notice to the taxpayer for paying the tax interest and penalty under section 74 as the taxpayer has not paid voluntarily. Once the DGI inspected the place, then they have made the payment of tax to the department. Once the notice has been received by the taxpayer has contended that notice. Since they have already paid the tax, so 74 has should not be invoked. And the one more contention that has been raised by the taxpayer is that they have not received the payment from the party. So they have filed the appeal before the appellate authority, and appellate authority totally rejected the claim that since you have not made the payment of the tax voluntarily, you have made the payment of tax once the department or the DGGI inspected your place, so you are liable to pay tax under 74. You have already the taxpayer has already paid the tax amount, but they have not paid the interest and penalty. So the appellate authority passed the order against the taxpayer. Now the taxpayer filed the case before the High Court and that Andhra Pradesh High Court. And Andhra Pradesh High Court has also confirmed the same thing that has been confirmed by the appellate authority that once the DGGI inspected, you have made the payment at that time only. One more point has discussed that the taxpayer has contended before the High Court that since I have already paid the payment of tax, so I have to, I should have charged penalty not 100%, only 15% because I have made the payment of tax before so cause notice because tax has been paid during the inspection of the DGGI and the notice has been issued after that. But the High Court has found that as per section 74, if you are making the payment of tax, but you are not making the payment of interest and the subsidized penalty of 50%, then you are not able to claim the benefit of that penalty, that I mean amnesty kind of penalty. So the High Court has also rejected that ground that you are not liable to pay 15% now because for that you have to pay tax, interest, and applicable penalty, that is 15% before the issuance of notice. And finally, the High Court has also rejected the case, and the demand affirmed by the appellate authority has been confirmed. Now the taxpayer, we have taken this case as now the taxpayer has filed SLP before the Supreme Court against this cause. And Supreme Court has also find that the point that has been raised by the High Court, the point that has been raised or confirmed by the appellate authority is okay, and we are not going to discuss, we are not going to change the order of the High Court or the appellate authority. After that, the taxpayer has filed a review petition before the Supreme Court. So the case has been gone through. Now the taxpayer has filed review petition for the curative action. So Supreme Court has said that it is settled law, and we have already confirmed the same has been confirmed by the appellate authority, then the High Court, and I have also filed the order. There is no point of review the order, and the review petition has also been dismissed. So this was the overall case. The core of the case, the core point that court has been raised, that since you have received the payment, you have not paid intentionally to the departments. Once the DGI inspector, you have paid the demand, and now you are saying that we are not liable for 74. So it is not the correct way, and you have to pay tax under 74, and the 17% penalty clause will also be not applicable, as you have not made the payment of interest and penalty before the issuance of show cause notice. So this was the first case that I have covered.
I think it is clearly written in 73.5 and 74.5 that if you are agreeing with the demand, you have to pay tax, interest, and penalty, then only
And
the
penalty, yes.
reduced penalty, benefit of reduced penalty will be available to the taxpayer.
Yes, yes.
So I think
The tax,
there are no more case laws on the basis when the taxpayer has paid tax and interest as well, but not penalty, and the notice was issued. Focus notice was already issued under section 74. So the fight was, first of all, whether 74 is applicable or not. The High Court confirmed that 74 is applicable because this is a clear case of fraud. And then the High Court ruled that since only tax and interest has been paid, but 73.5 or 74.5 clearly says that tax, interest, and penalty should be paid within 30 days of issuance of show cause notice. Well, no penalty, since no penalty has been paid, therefore now the 100% penalty is applicable. So when the law in itself says
yes, yes.
it's very clear, the tax. So to all the audiences over here, the only point is that if you want to take the benefit of the reduced penalty, tax along with the interest, along with that reduced penalty should be paid in DRC 03, then only that benefit can be passed on to the taxpayer.
Yes, the taxpayer was running before the High Court or the Supreme Court. The main reason why they are trying to get the relief from the penalty. And they were seeking that I have made the payment of tax, I have made the payment of before issuance of notice. So the case should move from the 74 to 73. But the core issue was that you have made the payment of tax once the DGI inspected the sale. You have
Correct.
not made the payment of tax voluntarily. That's the
Correct.
main. And at the end, the Supreme Court has also confirmed the High Court or the appellate authority or the jurisdiction point that they have raised.
Correct. 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 Correct.
Now
Okay.
the second case, yes, moving toward the second case, and it is related to appeal filing. So in this case, the case name is Digambar Road Lines versus Commissioner of Appeal, and it is related to Odisha state. So initially the case has been moved to Odisha High Court, and then it has been to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has finalized the order. So I am discussing the case, the Digambar Road Lines. In this case, Digambar Road Lines case, the taxpayer has to file an appeal before the appellate authority. So for that, they have to deposit as per section 107. They have deposited 10% of the disputed amount. The taxpayer has the taxpayer was not interested to pay the deposit, and they have requested before the appellate authority through mail or through personally that please listen my case, and in this case the demand is totally baseless, so I don't want to pay deposit amount, and please listen once the case, after that whatever you decide will proceed accordingly. The department has ignored because it is clear law that you have to pay the deposit at 10%. Then they did one thing. Initially, they requested to allow them file online appeal. The appellate authority has not accepted that thing. Then they have filed offline appeal and went before the department for the hearing without depositing the 10%. So the department has, appellate authority has rejected the case because as per law, you have to pay the deposit without submitting the deposit. They can't hear the case. Then the case has been rejected by the appellate authority on the technical ground, and there was also one thing the taxpayer has referred to case laws where the department has listened the case of the taxpayer, and once they listen the case, after that they have rejected. So the taxpayer has referred to case law, but the appellate authority clearly said that you have not paid the deposit, and the case law you have referred is totally different from your case. So they have rejected. Now they went before the High Court. High Court has also listened the case, and High Court find that the appellate authority is totally correct, and you are not, you will not be get the benefit of the non-deposit of the pre-deposit amount. Then they went to Supreme Court, file SLP. SLP has also been rejected. So my point, I have taken these two case law, and specifically for the reason that you must consider, you must see that whether your case is getting benefit from the upper court or not, because in these two cases there are clear laws that you have to, in earlier case you have to pay penalty under 74 if you are doing willful misstatement. In this case the taxpayer has not deposited the pre-deposit amount, and then they went to the appellate authority, they again went to the High Court, then again went to the Supreme Court, and at all point it was clearly mentioned that the since it is clear established law, so you are not going to benefit it just by the going to the one from one court to another court. So before going to any court, you must have to analyze the case, otherwise it will be again uh, harassment for the taxpayer also, that they have to pay, they have to bear cost for the filing appeal, for cost for the filing before the Supreme Court, High Court. So in this case also the Supreme Court has also rejected the SLP, and it has settled down that you have to pay the deposit. There are no any other way to consider the same. So this was Digambar Road Lines versus Commissioner of Appeal.
I mean, correct, Gaurav. I do not have much to say on this. Obviously, 10% pre-deposit is required under the law, and no authority has the power to condone it as
Yes,
such.
yes,
To bypass it, appellate authority or this, because when we go to the High Court also, there is, so when we go to the High Court, we cannot take this ground that I don't want to pay the pre-deposit. I can say that principles of
yes,
justice were not followed, order is without jurisdiction, and there are all other 4 5 remedies or 4 5 points on which I can approach High Court. But because I just don't want to pay the pre-deposit, I cannot approach High Court. So I mean that is a valid case.
yes,
You want to take another?
Sir, one question I
yes,
have. My name is Somshekar. I'm from Bangalore, chartered accountant. So, hi, Ayush and Gaurav. One question
yes,
which I'm having. So, in erstwhile VAT as well as CST, there was one rule that there is any kind of a financial difficulty, or maybe if the company is going through any kind of a financial, difficulty of not having an issue in the operations itself, right? And they will not be able to do the pre-deposit payment. Is there any way where we can take that shelter and file for the waiver of this pre-deposit file before filing the appeal?
So first of all, under the GST law, there is no such provision. Second, as far as I remember, under VAT or CST, what used to happen is we used to reach, first of all, the tribunal used to compute the amount of pre-deposit. Say they used to say that pay 20%, 30% pre-deposit, and then we will listen to your case. Then we used to file a separate appeal of that against that order in the High Court, and we used to get the pre-deposit amount reduced to 10%, 5%, or maybe zero, and then get the appeal filed again in that and get the appeal heard in the tribunal by paying that pre-deposit. This was earlier, then the amendment was again made in the VAT and the CST, and then the fixed percentage of that amount of the tax amount was again prescribed in the that act also. So there was this clause under VAT and CST, but under the GST Act, there is no clause as such which says that if there is any financial difficulty, because as far as I know, there was a 20% requirement of pre-deposit, first of all, in the second appellate stage, that was reduced to 10%. It
Yes.
does not take into cognizance the fact that the client may have to face a financial difficulty for paying such pre-deposit. Yes, what we can do is approaching the High Court by saying that whatever the demand has been raised in this, say I have a business book, because I have seen such type of cases. My turnover is rupees 50 crores, and I have a demand of rupees 100 crores. That is absolutely absurd demand based on absolutely absurd findings. So there we can go and approach High Court that this is the findings that are given are absolutely absurd without any correlation to the facts, without any jurisdiction or following principles of natural justice, and there we can get the relief. But when I say that the demand may be based on merits, or when you have alternate remedies available, you cannot take the plea that just because you do not have the amount to pay the pre-deposit, you do not want to pay it. I hope I am clear. Who I don't know speaking. Sorry, Somkesh Shekhar ji.
Sir, what I'm asking is, say for example, there's a genuine case. As I was telling that there's a genuine case of how this guy is having a financial difficulty of not going through, and the pre-deposit of 10% itself is very high on their side to pay. So
Right.
in the case where Gaurav was telling, they intentionally doesn't want to, because to not to block the funds or something, maybe some other reason.
Yes.
But in my
Yes.
case, what
Yes.
I'm telling is that there is genuine difficulty of paying the pre-deposit, which they cannot. It's not that they do not, so do not want to. They cannot. So in those cases, can they file any kind of a any shelter which is available, or maybe any case where they have not paid and gone for an appeal?
So there you can approach the High Court. There you have to clearly establish with your financial statements, balance sheet, and as well as the cash flow statement, as well as the bank statement. You will have
Mm,
to clearly demonstrate that
mm,
whatever the amount they're asking is a pre-deposit is not at all is not at all capable of paying the company. There you may expect some relief from the High Court, but right now, as far as I know, under GST there is no such jurisprudence available to
okay.
defend you.
But there is no case laws or no appeals which is
As far as
available
I
also.
remember, sir, there is no jurisprudence. But then again, I'm not, because as far as I can recall my memory,
Mm,
uh, there is no case law. Then again, I will have to search if there is any under GST. I remember there are in service tax and central excise, but under
mm.
GST, I don't remember any.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Ayush,
Yeah.
hello.
Yes, yes, Gopal.
Hi, Ayush. Ayush, on this particular aspect of pre-deposit, we had a discussion with the Honorable President of GSTAT also.
Yes,
So we asked this very particular question that on the GST 80 portal that allows the self-calculation sheet and the waiver and all that is there. So we
hmm,
asked that whether the GST 80 will also consider these kind of situations. So he very clearly said that there is no provision in the GST law, and up till tribunal, we will
hmm.
not get any legal shelter. If we get anything from the High Court, then only we can go there. So as of now, the tribunal and appeals, as per my understanding, also there is no particular shelter that we can file the appeal without pre-deposit.
Correct, because see, first appellate authority and second appellate authority, that is tribunal, they are bound by the law. They are the creation of a law, and they are bound by the law. So anything that is not written in the law, they cannot do, they cannot follow.
Yes.
Understood. Yeah, I understood. Yes. So that means the moment it is the pre-deposit made in the appellate, then
Hmm.
no point in going to the High Court also, because in the appellate tribunal itself, we would have done that pre-deposit, right?
Correct, sir. Correct. I
Correct.
mean,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
you will have to clearly demonstrate, and then also, you cannot expect a clear-cut decision in your favor. But I mean, it's a worth a try if you have genuine
Mm,
difficulties showing with all the balance sheets, cash flow statement, as well as the bank statement,
mm,
and
mm.
how you can effectively demonstrate that it is really difficult for you to pay such a huge amount as a pre-deposit. But
Okay.
at the same time, sir, what I would like to say is your case should also have merits.
Correct. Yeah.
See,
Yes.
I understand that you do not have the amount to pay the pre-deposit. The court will also understand. But
Mm,
I suppose say that whatever the department is saying may be true. maybe there
Hmm.
is some legal battle. There is some interpretation that may go into anyone's favor. I'm
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
saying that whatever you have done is fraud, or you
Hmm.
have taken fake ITC and then you are taking a plea there, so you forget that
Hmm.
you will get you will
Correct,
Yeah.
get
correct.
money
That
from
anyway,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but then also what I'm saying, in cases where there may be a matter of legal interpretation,
Correct.
because, the High Court is also not able to clearly demonstrate at this point of time that whether the case have good merits or not. There, it may be difficult. So you should have good merits along with that financial difficulty,
Hmm.
ground in your case.
Okay. Okay, sir. Got it. Yes.
Gaurav,
So now, yes, moving to the next case law, and it is related to GST 80. Okay. So recently, GST 80 has passed a very appreciating kind of judgment that a taxpayer has filed appeal before the GST 80. And you have seen that the GST 80 department has issued the instruction that at the initial level, if there is any technical kind of mistake, so the registry should not reject the case. They should make some correction. They should intimate to the client and or the taxpayer and make the corrective action. So the same thing happened in the recent case. The case name is Mano Bandra Ghosal versus Additional Commissioner of CGST Delhi, where the taxpayer had filed the appeal before the GST 80. And when we go to the filing the appeal before the GST 80, we have to select whether the case is falling under the principal bench or not. So they have selected the case is falling under the principal bench. Now the case has come before the principal bench. Bench has reviewed the case, and they have seen that the case is not falling under the principal bench. So as per the law, it should be rejected because the case is not falling the principal bench, and you have selected the principal bench, so it's kind of a wrong selection and the case will be rejected. But the department has considered that at initial level there are certain kind of ambiguity, and the taxpayer or the professional is also not that kind of pro in filing the appeal before the GST. So they have issued an instruction to the registry that coordinate with the GSTN and transfer the case from the principal bench to the Delhi bench. So the Delhi State Bench, and they have passed the order. So they have not rejected the case. They have passed the order to the Delhi bench, and now the case will be undertaken by the Delhi bench. So at initial level, whatever thing that has been issued through the instruction, the bench is properly undertaking that thing, and they have issued the favor in the. I think it is in the favor of the taxpayer, so that their case has not been rejected, and they got an opportunity to review the case or to listen the case before the Delhi bench. So this is the order. Order name is. Manu Bendra Gosal versus Additional Commissioner of CGST Delhi.
Gaurav, I have this point.
Yes.
See, I, how do I put it? There are many cases that I have faced practically. One of the cases that I had to file one appeal. So the client came to us saying that it's been 3 years since no, more than, I think, 5 years. I think we both were handling this case. They more than 5 years that I filed this appeal in the Customs Appeals Department, but no
Yes.
hearing has been scheduled till now.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then we went to the department with that acknowledgement, because that acknowledgement was also not clear. The stamp that was on that acknowledgement was with fadey. So
Yes.
fading. So we went to the customs department along with that acknowledgement copy. When we showed it to them, there was no entry of that appeal in their register. So
Yes.
that person who sits in the dark over there, he took a close look at that stamp, while seeing like this again, like this, he took a close look that how can this be possible that appeal, if being filed, having the acknowledgement, does not have any entry in the register, it is not possible. So they were also shocked. So when that person sitting over there took a close look at that page, at that acknowledgement page, he told me that this appeal has been by mistake filed in the adjudication department, that is with your adjudication customs officer, and not with the
Yes.
appeals officer.
Yes.
So that is why we do not have any entry in the register, and that is why your appeal has not been scheduled for hearing till date. Now, more than
Yes.
5 years, 6 years has elapsed, and that is why. So, what I know is there are jurisprudences more than, like, many n number of jurisprudence and number of court case, high court cases in this. If I have filed the appeal within time, if my intentions are pure,
Yes.
just by mistake, procedurally, I filed it in the wrong department. I'm not saying that the GST appeal has been filed in the labor department. GST appeal has
Yeah,
been filed in the income tax department. But within the
yeah,
GST department, rather than selecting state bench, say I selected principal bench, this should not become a bar on a legitimate taxpayer to defend its genuine case. This is
yes,
what my point is. And that is what high courts and Supreme Court have consistently ruled. See, the
yes,
Gistat case just said that because it is a recent filings have been recently started, it is a new law and mistakes are bound to happen. I am saying even if this mistake has been committed after 10 or 15 years by any
yeah. Then
consultant, then also the Gistat should have would have passed the same ruling, passed the same order, because they have the power, and they because the appeal has been filed in the department with the same gistat, only a different bench, which either the registrar should transfer immediately to the concerned bench, or should have communicated the defect as in when the appeal was filed, and should have told that this appeal does not lie in this bench and it should be filed in the correct bench.
yes, yes,
So this is what my point in this is.
yes, yes,
One question here, sir, actually. So,
Hmm.
say for example, as Gaurav was telling that, it has to be it should have been filed with the state bench instead of central, or maybe to the central, vice versa.
yeah.
So, when what is the timeline within which they will have to dispose it, or maybe to inform to the different department to which it has to actually intend it to go, and any kind of a error which we can say on the technical ground from the department that they have not transferred it. And for that, what is the timeline?
Correct. So first of all, there is no such timeline that is prescribed that within which they have to, transfer the case or something, tell you the defect. As and when the hearing comes, so it what used to happen in sysstat is, whenever we used to go and file the appeal manually, the person sitting over there, the registrar used sitting over there, used to check all the documents and then communicate to us then and there that what is the defect. And even if they used to take the appeal, if see there was then there was no such timeline. The first, whenever the appeal was put for hearing, the first registrar used to check that whether all the documents are there, and when if and all any document is missing, say I'm saying say pre-deposit is challan is missing, they used to issue a notice for the defect hearing first. Then we used to cure that defect, and then the appeal was scheduled for the regular hearing. Now, when it comes to GST, everything is online. There is no process of checking the documents then and there by the registrar or any person sitting over there. When you have filed the appeal and your appeal is filed within the timeline, within the time limit of 90 days, as whatever is given in the law, you have done the sufficient compliance from your end. Even if the department or the GSTAT at the later stage, say after 2 years, comes and says that you have filed this appeal before the principal bench or before the wrong bench, and it was supposed to be filed with for another bench, it is their duty to transfer that appeal to that bench on that date only, or direct you to file a fresh appeal, but that won't be considered as a time barred appeal or filed after the period of say 2 years. Your first appeal filed within the time limit will be only considered as the date of filing of appeal.
Got it. Okay.
There are certain timeline in the rules, but yes, once the case, there are so many pendency before the court. So once the hearing will be at a later stage, then of course they will allow the taxpayer. Otherwise, rules say that within the file, within 7 days, they have to find the basic clerical error. After that, you will get the timeline to correct the same. But since there are so many pendencies, once the department will check the case at the later stage, so they will for sure allow the taxpayer, and they will to correct the same, or otherwise transfer the case before the one bench to another bench. Yes.
Okay.
Ayush, hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ayush, regarding the time limit, so let's say I filed it before the wrong bench. Because in Uttar Pradesh, I think there's some confusion that the appellate authority sits at some Prayagraj, and the tribunal has benches at both the places, Lucknow and all.
No.
So if I file the appeal, this tribunal appeal based on the appellate authority's order, So if I file it before the wrong bench for whatever reason, so will the timeline be considered if my first appeal is filed, or as per the section 14 of Limitation Act, if I remember correctly, in the service tax and all, there was a lot of dispute regarding the forum shopping concept, that the taxpayers are filing it before the wrong benches just to litigate the matter or to linger it upon. So will it be so? Let's say I filed the first time I filed the appeal before the wrong bench on exactly the last date of the third month. So
Hmm.
when I get the notice of defect or whatever, if I get the appeal back to me and the registrar says that you file it before the appropriate bench, will I get the 7 days time limit as per the notice which is required for the correction of defect? Will I
Hmm.
get the 7 days, or will
Yes,
I
yes.
get only 1 day, because the section 14 of Limitation Act excludes the period that has been consumed during the litigation before the wrong bench? So will I get only 1 day because I filed it on the, let's say, 89th day? So I'll get one more day only, or I'll get the 7 days because the defect can be corrected within 7 days?
No, there you will get 7 day only, because once once you have to file the appeal within the time limit. Once you file and they find any kind of correction and they find any kind of error from your end, then they will provide you fresh 7 day. It is specifically mentioned in the rule. I think at that point there should not be time limit kind of restriction.
Gaurav, can we say, sorry, yeah, Gopal and
Yeah.
Gaurav, can we say filing of appeal before a wrong bench in itself a defect, and as per the rules, we should get 7 days? Just a question that, see,
Yes.
there can be any kind of defect, and filing an appeal before the wrong bench is also a defect.
Yes.
Maybe
Also kind
you are
of.
saying, Gopal, that because yes, taxpayers used to file appeal before the wrong bench just to linger upon the cases.
Yes.
But see, I would like to linger upon the case until and unless I have to pay the pre-deposit. Once I have paid the pre-deposit. Once I have paid the pre-deposit, what is the benefit that I am getting in lingering upon that case? If I am sure that I am going to win it, I will like to be heard it as soon as possible. If I am sure that there are some demerits in my case and there is going to be a loss, then I think as a prudent taxpayer, I would like to again, get the hearing as soon as possible so that my interest meters get stops. I don't have to pay much interest. Malab, I understand your point that I may intentionally file it before the wrong bench, but again, what I'm saying is filing the appeal before the wrong bench and it's also is also a defect or not.
So Ayush, in my view, it is not a defect. It is because the Limitation Act, and if you see the jurisprudence and all, they say कि आपने जितना भी time wrong bench के before में you have consumed, you exclude that period. Similarly, in the case of refund also, we have a provision that from the defect date, from the date of filing, you get that exclusion. So
Huh.
here also it should be an exclusion. So let's say I filed the appeal on 89th day. Now after, let's say, 1 month, I get the notice that you have filed it before wrong bench. So that 1 month should be excluded, and when I filed the appeal for the first
Correct.
time, I had 1 day in hand. I should get only 1 day, not the 7 days. This is what my understanding is.
So suppose for the genuine taxpayers who do not have any
Yes.
understanding as of now, who are filing the appeal on the 90th day only, then what can be done in those cases where they get the defect that the appeal has been filed before the wrong bench? They do not have the time available then.
Then they can file the condonation of further 3 months, which they have.
Correct, correct. That is all okay, but I think justice should. I think no. Opportunity of hearing on merits should be given before rejecting the appeal just because of procedural defects.
Yes, so on that ground, we discussed in the last session that there's one judgment from customs. So
Correct,
there the High Court allowed that it should be heard on merit first, then you decide on the procedural things. So
correct.
that is, but that whether the tribunal will have the power for that or not, because that is even recently in one matter, Supreme Court dismissed the case, but they left this question open to be taken up in appropriate case.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But for now, my question was whether they should get a fresh 7 days, or what should be the time in that
While your
case.
question is valid, that's a food for thought again. That will be tested when as and when the cases comes up. Right now, from in my opinion particularly, you should get 7 days. I mean,
Hmm.
injustice should not be done to the taxpayer only because maybe I as a consultant or anybody as a consultant may have filed the appeal before the wrong forum. wrong bench, and then the taxpayer who completely relied on its consultant should not be there should not be wrong done on the taxpayer just because of the consultant. That is what my point is.
Fair enough, fair enough.
And at the initial level, I think that initial 2-3 years, the GST AT will also follow the same thing because they are also liberal on that point. That initially, if there are any kind of mistake of selecting benches and all, so I think they will also follow the thing that they will not disallow the tax from the due to time barring of the case. So I think that's the point. In my point also, yeah, it should allow 7 days. Yes.
Right.
Now the last thing that I have covered. After that, I usually you have to take over. So the last thing that the GST 80 principal batch had issued an order dated 30th March 2026, where it has reconstructed the benches, the division 1, division bench 1, division bench 2, where they have specifically mentioned that the case will be allocated on the roster basis, and the earlier pending case will be decided in which manner, and after that all the case will be listened according to the this particular order that has been issued on 30th March 2026. So anyone can refer for or at GST portal. So these are the cases that I have covered. Now I will speak by you take on.
Uh, I
Yeah,
can.
one second, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, Gaurav, where I can find it in GST portal that
At
order?
GST portal, you can write down the order number. So order
Yeah,
number
please tell me.
01.
Sorry,
Yes, order number 01/GST/PB/2026, or folio number
go little slow, no? 01.
order number 01 GST
Ah,
PB principal bench slash 2026 dated 30th
okay,
March 2026.
okay, sure, got it. Thank you.
Yes.
I can take one or two case laws, but I think it's 12:45. If anybody wants to ask any query, because
Yes.
there are one or two queries that are there in the Google form with me as well. So I think we should open the floor for queries now. Or if there are no queries, then I will take up the case laws.
Yes.
One small question I was having.
Uh,
There is one appeal which is lying with the principal commissioner actually. Okay, so the matter is just I'll give you the brief. It's on the post-sale discount. That is a financial discount, circular number 251. In that question number 2 and point number 3, it covers that particular point. On that particular ground, basically the manufacturer has a agreement with both the dealer as well as the end customer. So
hmm,
there is an inducement that is a benefit to the end customer while giving this discount. Okay, and then the amount, whatever, say for example, 100 rupees is charged to the dealer, the discount will be allowed to an extent of 25% based on the turnover which is going to achieve, and that also will be allowed to pass on to the end customer. And with the end customer also, they have the turnaround, TOT, that is an agreement. So now the question is actually the department has issued a notice under section 74. So the discount whatever was allowed on that, the GST was not reversed. So since it is a financial credit note without the GST reversal, so the GST was also not reversed on it. So the dealer has taken the ITC, and whatever the discount which was allowed to him later was taken to the direct income. Initially, it was income, and then the discount allowed was taken to direct income again. So now what has happened is the department has issued a notice after the time bar for section 73. Hence, they have issued the notice under section 74, stating that it is a misrepresentation or fraud or maybe intentional evade of tax. However, in the principal commissioner is also of the view that no, it shouldn't have been issued under 74. It should have been issued under 73 because there is no. It's only the interpretation of law because 251 was not there, so circular was not there. So it was only the interpretation of the law, whether the discount was eligible for ITC reversal or not. So principal commissioner is also of the view that no, it should not be. However, he may order in favor of the department only, not in favor of the assessee. So the case may go to the tribunal as well. So Ayush, so the question is actually from both of you that on the technical ground, that is under Section 74, can we win the case? Because on the other merits,
Yes.
based on the Circular 251, question number 2.3,
Hmm.
there is a thin line of winning the case on that ground, on the provisional ground. But on the technical ground of 74, can we win?
If I talk about only the technical grounds of 73 and 74,
Yes.
there
Okay.
are many jurisprudences available from the service taxes and central excise point time era.
Okay.
First one is whether they see Section 74 says 100% penalty.
Hmm.
Whenever there is a concept of 100% penalty, a mens rea has to be established. That is a guilty mind. Now,
Yes.
when that mens rea is established, whenever you have that intention to defraud the government, whenever you have the intention to evade the payment of tax. Now, when your intention is established, is that something that was supposed to be disclosed is not disclosed. There is a definition clearly given under the GST law of willful suppression, what is considered as the willful suppression of facts. What was required to be disclosed was not disclosed in the returns. Now, when I talk about this financial credit notes or the incentive or the discount that I have received from my manufacturer, first of all, when I talk about merits, I will say that this is purely a discount. A no supply has been given in respect of this income. Therefore, this is not non-GST supply and it was not required to be disclosed anywhere in the GST returns.
Okay.
Second point is whenever there is a matter of legal interpretation, there are cases when I say that now how do I establish matter of legal interpretation? How many number of cases are there on the same jurisprudence, on the same matter, on the same matter of facts that the High Court have already decided, tribunals have already decided, maybe not in the GST era, but in the service tax era, because the same issue was there under the service tax regime as well.
Okay.
Whenever there is a matter of legal interpretation, you cannot say that I had a malified intention of defrauding the government. Whatever I have done was within my bona fides. Whatever
Okay.
I had done was, why was my interpretation of law. There is a industry-wide confusion on this point, and I'm telling you, this is the industry-wide confusion in this point that whether tax is payable on this incentive amount, whether we should call it discount, whether
Correct.
we should call
Correct.
that tax as a supply or not. This is a industry-wide issue. This
Correct.
is
Correct.
not
You're
some
right.
issue
Correct.
that only you have faced in your case.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when I can establish before the court that this is a matter of legal interpretation, bona fides, no mens rea, and whatever was required to be disclosed was disclosed sufficiently in the financial returns, and it was not required to be disclosed in the GST returns. Because see, one more point, how this was picked up in the audit or in Section 61.
Audit. During
See,
the audit.
again, there are cases which says even if it had been Section 61 or because this is audit, see, department came to know on the basis of the data that I have provided.
Correct.
Financial statements are the public, they are available in the public domain. Even if it is a private limited company, then you can pay some fees to the MCA and you can take it out. If it is a partnership firm, then you can ask it from the income tax department, which is your government office only.
Yeah.
This thing is not, willfully suppressed. It is not the case that I have not disclosed it in my financial statement, that you have picked it up from my bank statement or something from any invoice or something, that I did not share it with you. You got hand from somewhere else. From my, you came and searched my premises and then you got to know about this transaction. It is not that case.
Okay.
It was sufficiently disclosed where it was required to be disclosed, and you got to know about this from that disclosure only and from nowhere else. So
Correct.
it is a winnable case, I say, a winnable case. If I talk about only Section 74 and 73, the notice should have been issued under Section 73 only.
73 only. So in the appellate tribunal also, if it goes, if you fail in the commissioner appeals and goes to appellate authority, then the case is having a merits of winning on the technical grounds.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it was issued, but after the time limit for Section 73 was passed, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Why it was imposed is 74 was imposed because the time barred for 73. There is
It-
no other section which they can impose, so 74 was taken.
You have a good case to answer.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay.
If anybody like to ask any other query. Just a second, I think.
Hi, Ayush.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yes.
Ayush, this one query. In appeal, when we file the appeal, we pay a pre-deposit, and when the appeal is decided in our favor, we are eligible to claim the refund of that pre-deposit in terms of Section 115. Now, as per Section 115, the pre-deposit is refundable along with the interest provided under Section 56. Now
Correct.
the question is whether as per Section 56, the main section says that you'll get the interest on the refund at the rate of 6%, whereas there is a proviso which talks about the 9%. So whether in our case, when we are getting the refund getting a refund of pre-deposit on the basis of order of this appellate authority or the tribunal, whether the proviso is applicable and the 9% is 9% interest is applicable, interest rate is applicable, or 6%.
Okay, Gaurav, sorry, Gopal, I got your point. See, as far as I remember, 56 proviso talks whenever the refund is arising out of an order passed by any authority. Am I correct? Then 9% is applicable.
Right, I guess.
So see, I have opened the section 56. It's in front of my screen. I read it as it is. If any tax ordered to be refunded under section 54(5) to any applicant is not refunded within 60 days from the date of receipt of application under subsection 1 to that section, interest at such rate not exceeding 6% may be specified in the notification on the recommendation of the council shall be payable in respect of such refund. And I'm not reading that is okay. Provided that where any claim of refund arises from an order passed by an adjudicating authority or appellate tribunal or court which has attained finality and the same is not refunded within 60 days from the date of receipt of application filed subsequent to such order, interest at such rate not exceeding 9% may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council. So what is your query is that what is the distinction between section 56(1) and its proviso? That when 6% is applicable and when 9% is applicable. So when I read section 56(1), it says whenever any refund is arising out is filed under 54(1) and order is passed under 54(5). And if it is not refunded within 60 days of the order passed under section 54(5), then a 6% interest is applicable. Correct? Now, what 54(5) says that if on receipt of any such application, the proper officer is satisfied that the amount is refundable, it should be refunded. Correct? Any application for refund filed under section 54 is decided under section 54, filed under section 54(1), say 088 supply, decided under section 54(5) that it should be refunded to me, the amount should be refunded to the taxpayer, is not refunded within 60 days, then 6% tax is applicable. Interest is applicable, sorry. At the same time, when any order is passed by the appellate authority, adjudicating authority, and the refund is arising from that order, then 9% tax is applicable. Now we have to understand the meaning of the words where any claim of refund arises from an order. Now, when does the refund arises from an order? Whether it arises whenever any appeal is decided in my favor and I have to get the refund of pre-deposit, or is it the case where my refund was rejected earlier at the adjudication level, and at the subsequent appeal level, I won the case, and then the refund is arising because of that order. Gopal, I think I'm clear. This is the exact query is.
Yes, query is clear, Ayush. Just you go ahead. I have one more point on this, but you go ahead on this first.
See, any refund arising out of from an order by an adjudicating authority or appellate tribunal or court, there can be both the interpretations to the same. See, I was after your query only I read this section 54 656(1). What I am of the view is that whenever any refund is after being granted under 54(5) is not refunded to me within 60 days, then 6% rate is applicable. Otherwise, in all such cases, whether it is a refund of a pre-deposit, because pre-deposit, or whether it is a refund arising out of any order of a maybe rejected earlier and allowed at a later stage, they all should be allowed given at a percentage of interest should be allowed at a percentage of 9%, is what my point in this is. Now again, see, I can make arguments from both the sides whether the pre-deposit refund is arising out of a order or it is a consequence of an appeal of a it is a subsequent is a consequence of winning an appeal, or it is just arising out of an order. Whenever I have to file an appeal, I have to mandatorily pay 10% pre-deposit. That is, I have to mandatorily pay pre-deposit. I won the case, that 10% will be refunded to me. So one of the arguments that can I take in this is that that 10% pre-deposit is not arising out of any order. That was the mandatory amount that you had to deposit to file the appeal, and consequent of winning the appeal, you are getting the refund of that 10% pre-deposit. Gopal, do you
Yes,
have
Ayush.
do you have any point
Yeah,
in?
so yes, I had a point that
Hmm,
how I look at it. So let's say there was a demand order of 100 rupees and I fought in the appeal, and the appellate authority says that let's say I made payment under protest, entire 100 rupees or something was paid just to avoid the litigation and all. Now subsequent to that, or maybe I paid any amount under the mistake of law, and I filed the refund and the refund was not granted, then the appellate authority says that this much demand is either not maintainable. So out of 100, they reduce the demand to 20 rupees or 30 rupees. Now that 70 rupees, which is lying with the government, because it is the amount collected in excess of what is leviable as per section 9.
hmm,
So that is refundable. And the order itself says that this much amount is not payable. This should be so arising from an order,
hmm.
as you rightly mentioned, arising from an order and arising consequent to an order, there
Right.
lies the distinction, because again the departmental authority will always say that 6% is payable. Otherwise, the proviso not only refers to appellate authority, but it also refers to adjudicating authority. So if any order is giving a situation where the refund is to be made, so even when we file the RFD 01, they pass an order in the they pass an order granting the refund. So even that is a refund arising out of an order by the adjudicating authority. So if we read it as arising from an order, if we read it very loosely,
Hmm,
then the main provision will lose its essence and everything will be covered under 9%, because without order there will be no refund. Whether it's a pre-deposit or under protest or the refund, let's say if we claim the refund of inverted duty structure also,
hmm,
there
hmm.
also they have to pass an order.
Yes, yes.
So
You
this
will
is
not.
how I read ki there are better chances for the 6%, at least from the first level. Maybe at the tribunal they can interpret it different way.
Correct. That is the valid point that you made. Every refund is granted only after an order is passed by the adjudicating authority, and the words adjudicating authority is also used in the provision. So proviso. So if I take that, if I take that into consideration, the main provision of 6% becomes redundant. There is no order that will fall under 56(1), and everything have to be within 56(1) provision only, first provision only.
Right, Ayush.
Yes, yes, correct.
Maybe this 56 proviso is to cover those situations where the higher forum says that this amount is not payable. If you have paid, you should get a refund.
Then why the
Be-
word adjudicating authority are used in this?
Maybe at the time of DRC 1A, the taxpayers make payment. So, at the time of adjudication, the authority comes to a conclusion that you have paid some amount as tax before the show cause notice. So, you should get the penalty waiver or the interest waiver if you have paid. So, there also adjudicating authority has the power to decide.
So I have one point, like if I file the refund application, okay, and the department has, adjudicating authority has rejected our refund application. I have went to it before the appeal. Appeal has passed the order in our favor, and they have refer back case to the adjudicating authority to grant the refill. The grant the refund to the taxpayer. Now the adjudicating authority granting the refund to me, and they are delaying more than 60 days. So now again, adjudicating authority is granting us the refund just because an order has been passed by the appellate authority, and they are delaying more than 60 days. So in that case, 6% will be applicable or 9% will be applicable.
I think in that case, clearly 9% should be applicable.
Yes. So in these type of cases, even adjudicating authority is passing the order, but just because of the litigation, after litigation is stage, adjudicating authority is passing the order, then they will fall under the 9%. But at initial level, if you file refund application, department has passed the refund application, granted us the refund, and they have not created the same within 60 days. So in this case, the adjudicating authority has passed the order, but they have to pay only 6%. But once I came from the litigative stage, and after that they are delaying, in that case, they have to pay 9%, I think. So adjudicating authority will fall in both the cases. So you are saying that why adjudicating authority had put in the 9%. So once at the litigation stage, we have won the case and case in the our favor. And again, adjudicating authority will only pass the refund. They will only grant refund on the basis of the order. So in that case, if they are delaying, it will
Correct.
fall under 9%.
Correct.
Yes.
It's 1-3. If anybody has any other query, then we can take up. Otherwise, we can wind up the session, Gaurav. Otherwise,
Yes, yes, yes.
Ayush ji, any other, abhi GST 80 is on the operational, right? Any source where we can get this, all the ordered cases, final ordered cases, because all I can see is only in the stage of hearing. So, any source where I can get the final order cases?
no. What? So for whatever the final orders has been passed by the GST 80, you want or
Yeah, yeah.
see, sir.
It is on GST portal, I think. Yes, they have the.
Sorry, what, Gaurav?
Yeah, at GST portal, every order that has been passed by them, there
Correct.
are the.
At a GST portal, all the orders that are passed by the authority are there, whether the final order or whether they're in interim order. You
हम्म
just have to go and check.
तो
Uh,
बहुत
Correct.
सारा केसेस है उसमें, बहुत सारा
बहुत
केसेस
सारे
है
cases
आयुष जी,
हैं.
इसलिए.
Otherwise, there are many libraries available that are
हम्म.
being run by the private parties. Say
ओके.
MI, BIL, Taxonation, Tax. So many are there.
हम्म.
Taxman.
Yes.
You can take subscription of any of those. There you can find all the
ओके,
cases, all the
ठीक है.
listed at one place.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for
Yes.
joining this 11th session of ALC weekly meeting, weekly query session.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you very much, both Ayush and Gaurav. Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We hope to see you in the next session at the same time.
Sure, sure. Okay. Done.
Thank you.
Bye.